Lots more to discuss with Claire Pearsall, former Conservative Government Advisor. Morning to you.
Morning.
Question I'm asking our audience today is specifically about that attack at a North London school. A 13-year-old attacker, or the alleged suspect, shouting Allahu Akbar, according to many witnesses. Kids all in a classroom at lunchtime when a kid stabs a 12-year-old boy and a 13-year-old boy, one in the neck and one in the back. I mean, absolutely horrific. Thankfully, one of the kids was able to sound the fire alarm to get people onto the scene and get the other kids out. The suspect believed to be a child at the school who'd been suspended, who had climbed over a wall to get into the school. But this is a serious worry. These spates of stabbings. We've got another kid, who was stabbed just walking along the road, and his attacker, in Birmingham, his attacker has now been sentenced. Well, behind bars. He certainly won't be out for a number of years. I had a 12-year-old boy at a local school to me, stabbed by allegedly two 14-year-old boys in the school playground. This is now not uncommon. There's going to be a point when this is no longer going on the front pages. But the stabbing alongside shouting Allahu Akbar raises other concerns about not just how many radicalised people we have in this country, but radicalised kids we have in this country. I want to know your reaction to this. Give us a call, 0344 499 1000. Text the word TALK in your message to 87222. Get in touch with us on X at TalkTV. Calls the charge at the national rate and text cost £1. Standard network rate message. How concerned are you, Claire?
I'm really concerned when I feel that it's almost, it's another one. And that's an awful thing when you hear the headlines and you just think, again, yes, here we go, another stabbing. I think it was Chris Phillips, one of your previous guests, made the comment about what are the parents doing in all of this?
Yeah.
Because if that was me, I would be more scared of my parents than absolutely anything else. I'd rather they handed me over to the police at that point, because my mum was frightening. She really, really was.
Parents should absolutely be frightening. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, my mother was. And she was a teacher, so she had a look about her.
But wouldn't you be, how concerned are you at various city schools, about kids carrying knives? But would you not be, I know, you know what, if you have to search your kid every single day as they leave the house,
that's your job.
You do that.
And that's your job.
You search your kid's bedroom as soon as they've left the house.
But talk to them as to why, if you find them with an implement, why on earth are they doing it?
But also, here's the thing. I mean, again, we don't know the suspect's identity. We probably never will, because they're a child. We don't get this point. They're, not being charged with a crime, and they're certainly not convicted of a crime. But, were they getting this from the parents? Was it on the internet? You should know what your 13-year-old child is seeing on the internet. But again, we've got this ongoing thing that the number of people who are Islamist extremists in this country is off the scale. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be called Islamophobic. It's a load of nonsense. We are not talking about all 4 million Muslims in this country being a danger to other people. No, I'm sorry. That's just bigotry. That is not the case. I know some of you will be shouting at me. That is not the case, okay? There are many hundreds of million Muslims living around the world, living very, very peacefully, okay? Yeah. We have a particular problem having imported it from the Middle East, from Pakistan and other countries where we have imported is a particular form of Islamist extremism. And the trouble is, looking at the polls that have been done, even by the woke organisations like the Channel 4s and everyone, who then quickly sort of get, let's not do quite a long as item on this. When they do a poll, when there's been an Islamic attack, and they do a poll and they basically go, this is years ago, let's do a poll, we'll prove just how how few people have these extremist views. Turns out a huge number.
Many.
You're looking at a bare minimum of 10% of people in this country, according to all the polling that has been done, sharing very extremist views, thinking that, killing people who insult Muhammad or show a cartoon of Muhammad or leave the religion of Islam should be killed. Okay, you are talking about very extremist views. Minimum 10%. Probably could easily be up to 20%. Now, at that point, and this is a lot of experts who are saying this is not me, not my conjecture. I have no idea. The experts talking about this who are looking into extremism. In that case, you are looking at between 400,000, 800,000, maybe up to 1 million people in this country who have values which are totally and utterly diametrically opposed to the values of a Western liberal society like Britain.
Yeah. And
it's that simple.
It is that simple, and it's a growing problem. And I think that we've all, well, not all of us, I think the powers that be have been blind to the fact that it is increasing, and they
see
have
no
to
evil,
be
hear
honest.
no evil, speak no evil.
Yeah, and I've done my prevent training.
Have you?
I have.
Did it prevent you from becoming?
I think it actually makes me slightly more angry than anything else. It's an interesting thing to do. It's an interesting thing to go through, and I have to do it as part of being a school governor. It isn't enough, and there aren't enough people. It's one of these things. Government puts something together and says this is going to be the solution to a problem.
I mean, it clearly isn't. I mean, just look at the stats.
Just not.
But also, again, people keep talking about, well, we've got the threat of the far right. Sorry, if you look at the number of attacks and the number of people killed in attacks, the problem is Islamism. By all means, tackle the people of the far right or horrible, nasty, racist bigots. Absolutely. But by and large, they're not the people who are causing the mass deaths.
Yeah.
Sorry, so can we focus where the real problem is as our main, not only our only, but our main force? But this is the thing, it's not been tackled. And we know the Axel Ruder-Cabana, okay, he was about sort of, there were numerous different ideologies, but he had an Al-Qaeda handbook and he had rice in. But no, definitely not a terrorist. Really? Because I think that pretty much says to me he was a terrorist.
Yeah, but
he had a confused ideological view, and he's definitely mental, but he's also a terrorist.
Yeah, and you can be all of those things. You don't just have to fit into one particular box. And they're so scared of saying that somebody is potentially a terrorist, but also an Islamist or whatever else, because they don't want to.
But we need to know people's views. If you think that someone can't leave your religion, if you think that someone can't marry out of your religion, if you think that people should be live in fear for their lives for the rest of their lives because they showed a picture of Prophet Muhammad, or burnt a Quran, you're an extremist. And I'm sorry, you're an extremist. End of, full stop. And I have worries about you and your family. Now, that doesn't make me Islamophobic. That makes me extremistophobic. I have a problem with Islamism, extremist Islamic ideology, which teaches that. And far too many of the mosques in this country, far too many of the sites on the internet are teaching this form of ideological indoctrination. And far too many, particularly young Muslims in this country, are believing it. And it's being normalised. And it's not being called out. And as we saw with the Maccabi Tel Aviv, the police are just basically going, oh, well, please, what do you want us to do? Should we ban the Jews? Should we ban the Jews from coming to Birmingham so that you don't go around getting your crowbars and your axes and your knives and going around killing them, which is basically what the Muslim community leaders had threatened would happen. And actually on the night, even on the night when they'd been banned, the police logs themselves say last November there were groups of up to 100 Muslim men, Asian men, wandering around with weapons, basically looking for Jews. Okay, I'm sorry, the politicians, the local councils, the national politicians, the police, the authorities have been bending over backwards to do whatever. Again, the hate marches across London every 2 weeks, which means that we don't have enough bobbies on the beat because our police have been used up doing that kind of policing. Not just on no days, they're not available on other days because they're on their rest days then. they don't work a 7-day week, of course they don't. They're not tackling these things. They're not tackling the rise in anti-Semitism because it's all a bit awkward because we might have to admit that we've imported a problem. And we've encouraged a problem. And when you have a 13-year-old child allegedly shouting Allahu Akbar while stabbing 2 other kids in school, if that isn't your wake-up call, something is going horribly wrong and we need to deal with it. The grooming gangs weren't enough of a wake-up call for you. I don't know what is.
And people are still not believing the victims of the grooming gangs either, and they're trying to make out...
They were slags.
Exactly, and they're, white girls, they were rubbish, and it's an appalling state of circumstances that we've got in that you cannot now call it out for what it is.
No, because why? You're going to be called far right. You're going to be called far right. I mean, again, you know what? Racist, bigot, Islamophobe, far right, all that stuff. Do you know what? I just don't care anymore. Those words used to have terrible meaning. I used to threaten to see people. I don't care. I literally don't care. And I think there are millions of people now who don't care. We're going to speak it out for what it is. Oh, yeah, transphobic. That's also what I am. Another big crime we're talking about today. Mass school shooter in Canada killed 9 people, 9 students and teachers, we believe as well, then killed themselves, because it's a gun person apparently, injured another 25. So this was at school, but also 2 people dead at home, it would appear. Very typical school shooting. Kills parents, kills teachers and students in school, then kills self. Initially described as a female in a dress.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as I saw that this morning, unlike everybody working at the BBC, paid for by you and me, and like everyone working at Sky News and ITV and all the national news and everyone reporting this, I heard a female in a dress has committed a mass shooting in Canada, right, in a small town. And I immediately thought, I don't think the stats suggest that females do that at all. I'm wondering why they mentioned the dress bit. And I looked it up. There have never been any mass shootings ever by a woman in Canada. There have never been any mass shootings by a woman or attacks by a woman in the UK. There have been a tiny number, as in, given how many huge numbers of stabbings and shootings there are, mass shootings in America, a handful in America. So it's like 4 or 5% max, okay? And nearly always with another male perpetrator with them, okay? So this is a lone perpetrator's woman. I thought, I don't think that rings true. And what a surprise, despite Radio 4 telling people today, oh, you know, you can't trust social media, you need to get your reliable reporting on your mainstream media. What a surprise. It was a boy. It was a trans-identified boy.
Yes.
Because it's a male, because that's what it's a male crime, not a female crime. Yep. Now, but they're still reporting this as like a female crime, and now they're saying, I did check with our newsreader with what she was saying in our news, you know, and it was just that they've not confirmed the gender. Again, it used to be sex, it used to be clear, because your gender is something apparently you can identify as you're either male or female. These are lies, but this is the thing. When we have lies about perpetrators of extremist violence from extremist ideologies, we have lies about whether or not someone is male or female. If you're willing to lie, the police and the reporters are willing to lie about whether or not it's a man or a woman or a teenage boy or a teenage girl who has committed mass murder of innocent people. What else are you lying about? Why are you lying about that? Because if the victim had been trans, oh my God, Brianna Jay, remember, his mother, you know, still referring to this girl, you didn't have a girl, you had a boy, and I'm so sorry. It's absolutely awful that your son was killed, but he was a boy, not a girl, and he wasn't targeted because he was trans. They don't stop going on about that. This was a trans-identified male who killed people. Say it like it is.
When do we get so scared of facts? If you and I said something that was outwardly untrue, we'd be pulled up for it.
And I would expect to be, absolutely.
And it's the same, you know, in the political sphere, that I know that there's, you know, they're always a little bit good with the hiding of truth, but you have to be held to account. So why do we allow reports like this and we all just go, oh yes, okay, that's fine?
But lots of the newspapers, I mean, even the papers you would expect to do better on it, including, you know, the paper I write for as well, The Sun, Telegraph, The Mail, things like, I'm honestly, I'm constantly messaging people, why are you reporting this? And they will report a case as if it is, you know, it's like, you know, Jill Smith was like, he's John. Just look at him, he's John.
Exactly.
But there is this thing in newspaper. There is actually a requirement by Ofcom for the broadcasters. Frankly, you can do one. Seriously, you can do one. I don't care. Come for me.
What are they going to do?
I'll pay the fine. I will crowdfund the fine. I don't care. I will not be forced to lie about facts. I won't be forced to do it. And you've got IPSO for the newspapers, requiring them to use people's preferred pronouns, right? Even if they are accused of a crime, or even if they're a convicted rapist or killer. I mean, or paedophile. I mean, because we have to worry about misgendering a mass murderer. This is sick. This is absolutely sick. Newspaper editors and people who run broadcast stations need to stop playing along with the madness. You should be about facts and only facts.
Yeah, and that's it. And when did we get into this grammatically incorrect way of announcing people as well?
I refuse to be required to use incorrect grammar. Refuse.
It really sort of sticks. I did English at school. I've got an A-level. I love looking at language. I know, that's about it. That's all I've got. And we're now expected to use it incorrectly just because it doesn't hurt someone's feelings. That
you know
way.
what hurts people's feelings?
Care.
Being shot. Being shot to death. Funnily that. Right, let's go on to let's just go on to truth, where you always get truth. Number 10. We talked the political editor of The Sun, Jack Olson, a few moments ago about this, but we've got this investigation into Peter Mandelson's links with Epstein, go all the way back to the Blair era. Tony Blair expected to have to give evidence. Look, he was a minister. I mean, among the many times he resigned, twice was when he worked for Tony Blair when he was Prime Minister. big concerns now about, was he leaking just during the Brown era? Was he leaking stuff later on to Epstein? What else was he up to? Police are already investigating that. Gordon Brown, the former Prime Minister, has been very clear. Said, what he's done was criminal. Of course, we cannot verify that these documents were genuine, but they certainly appeared to be. And if they are, we are looking at misconduct in public office charges. That carries a life sentence.
Yeah, it is really serious.
Same issue for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, because similarly, documents when he was a UK trade envoy, an official role for the government. Again, misconduct in public office. Very, very, very serious crime if it is proven. We've also got this issue of Keir Starmer's former spin doctor, Matthew Doyle, now Lord Doyle. He's been suspended. He's already lost the Labour whip over his links to a sex offender. Explain a bit about the story. And you and I kind of view that this is getting a little bit witch hunty.
It is a little bit. So Matthew Doyle, who is a sort of old hand around the Westminster world.
He's been around for years.
He has been around for years. He's held many jobs. I've come across him and he's always been sort of perfectly pleasant towards me. I've had no reason to disbelieve any of the things that he's said. I don't agree with him, but that's beside the point. Yeah. He was a friend of a gentleman up in Scotland who has been convicted of having indecent images on his computer. So basically he's a paedophile. Matthew Doyle was asked about his friendship. What was his relationship with this individual? Did he go out helping campaign when he was an independent candidate? To which the answer was yes. But
he put photos up of him campaigning.
He did.
This was when he was charged but not convicted.
Charged but not convicted. As soon as he's convicted, Matthew Doyle has cut off all ties. I think that we need to be very, very careful at holding somebody responsible for the actions of someone else. I don't agree that Matthew Doyle should have been given a peerage, but that's a whole different conversation.
And there's an argument about that actually the Sunday Times was reporting in December that so after it had been announced that he was going to be made a peer, because all these people get a peerage.
Yeah, they do.
And then the Sunday Times reported that he'd been campaigning for this guy as an independent when he was already charged with these crimes, and was not standing for Labour because he'd been charged with these crimes.
Precisely.
And basically there was plenty of time for them to basically withheld the peerage.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I think the peerage announcement was made on the 10th of December. The information came out about the 27th of December, and the formal announcement of the confirmed peerage was January the 8th. Yeah. So there was time in between. It's now been suspended as of February the 10th.
But I think a lot of people go, I don't know this guy. Yeah. He hasn't committed a crime. He wasn't defending this guy who was already convicted. It's not the same as Mandelson and Epstein. Epstein had already been convicted and pleaded guilty to a crime. But the key thing, and also anyone who's hung around with Epstein knew that he was surrounded by teenage girls. I just don't believe for a moment that anybody who considered him his best pal wasn't seeing everything. No. And they really revolting little text messages and emails they've been sending each other. Sorry, it's quite obvious. He was fully aware of of Jeffrey Epstein's predilections. Feel free to sue me, Mandy. I don't care. People are disgusting. But this all comes back to Keir Starmer's judgment, isn't it? And this idea that there's just this view of the Keir Starmer, all his mates, all the boys at Number 10, this boys' club where they talk the talk about violence against women and girls, and they talk about everything. But actually, when it comes to a lot of things, at the actual reality of it, they talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And you can take that back to the grooming gangs and failure to act there and being dragged kicking and screaming to a public inquiry there. Still ain't got that up and running, by the way. And it goes to, not really having an issue with the fact that Mandelson was appointed US ambassador despite it being common knowledge that he was big mates with Epstein and after his conviction as well. Just not having an issue with that and not having an issue with Matthew Doyle campaigning for someone who'd been accused of paedophilia. I mean, I'm sorry, but there is a pattern here, but are we in danger of kind of stretching it a little bit too far?
I think in the case of Matthew Doyle that yes, I think it does sit at the heart of what's wrong with the government. The judgment of the Prime Minister is so appalling, but also the fact that he cannot make a decision and stick with it. So, the Labour MPs were cock-a-hoots yesterday in the Commons going around going, oh, isn't it brilliant? We've done so many good things. And you think, well, what?
I asked Carl Turner, Labour MP, who was on to defend the Prime Minister, and he was literally like, what? Give me something.
And you come up with breakfast clubs. Free breakfast clubs. which aren't free.
They're not free. They're paid for by us.
That's it. And you just think, in 2 years, what is your political philosophy, Keir Starmer? Because I don't think you've got one.
We all know he's toast. Everyone knows he's toast, apart from Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
I mean, the PMQ's in about half an hour's time. It's going to be quite interesting there. Yeah, I mean, it's always talking about, some sort of this class war, dealing with the class issue. Oh, mate, I mean...
Stop.
Yeah, no one... Yeah. You're son of a tool maker. I mean, your dad owned the factory, mate. Your dad owned the factory. Please stop the pretence.
And he was privately educated. So
he's no more working class than I am. I mean, give me a break. I mean, yeah. And also went to grammar school. They're opposed to grammar school, and it became a private school.
Nothing wrong with the grammar school.
There's one thing I loathe in this world more than okay. Paedophiles, rapes. I mean, let's go the obvious. Okay, in terms of it's lefties.
Yes.
Who went to grammar schools or private schools.
Yeah.
Who are opposed to grammar schools.
I know.
Often, by the way, they send their kid to selective, academic selective grammar schools. It's all right for them. But the people who want to basically stop other kids, particularly from working class homes, from getting that sort of academic education that could help them in their lives, certainly did for my parents, did for so many people like the Andrew Neils and all these amazing people who've done so well because they had that access. Yeah. I despise those people. I really do. Just one final thing I want to talk about in relation to all this stuff with Mandelson and Trump and everything, and Epstein. Sorry, is a former police chief in Florida. In these Epstein files, that said he received a call from Donald Trump back in 2006 in which the now president told him everyone knows about Jeffrey Epstein's behaviour. This is an FBI document. It's been confirmed by who the police chief was, and that yes, this phone call was made. They're saying absolutely that Donald Trump called him after the department launched an investigation into Epstein at that time, which then eventually led to these much pleaded down charges, saying that good is short, stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this. This was a Michael Reiter, Palm Beach police chief at the time. He told the Miami Herald that he had received that call from Trump. Donald Trump, of course, when asked by reporters in 2019, Epstein was arrested by federal agents, and Donald Trump was asked, of course he was president then, if he had any suspicions about the financier. There'd been loads of pictures of them together in New York over the years. Trump said, no, I had no idea. I haven't spoken to him in many, many years. Donald Trump lies, shocker.
And that's kind of where I am with this. I think whatever Donald Trump says at the time, that the opposite is probably true. I didn't know about it. Well, yeah,
I think it's a bit unlikely that police chief is making that call up.
I would say that the police chief is probably a more trustworthy individual than the President of the United States.
Good on Donald Trump for putting the call in. Everyone's known.
Well, actually, that would have been a really good thing if he sort of said, yeah, I did, and I had my concerns and I raised them. But he's doubled down and said, I've never met him, I've never been there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. No, he has said he broke off friendship with him many, many years ago. Probably realised he was too dangerous and too dodgy for him, even for him.